Welcome to another South Dakota Varsity Sports Update. I'm Jason Andera, and this week, not just one game of the week to give you highlights from, a few of them. They came from the DWU Classic at the Corn Palace last Saturday. Now, the girls played on Friday, boys played on Saturday. We didn't get the cameras there Friday, but we did get to a few of the games on Saturday. Let's give you a quick recap of some of the top moments from that Classic. In the first game of the day, Platte Geddes beat Freeman Academy 51-47. Kelby Vanderwerf led the way for the Black Panthers. Then Pine Ridge, no problem with Ron Colley in a 59-36 win. Corey Brown and Charles Schrader went for 14 points each in that win. Next, Sanborn Central Woonsocket came back to beat Irene Wakanda 57-56. And Noah Dixon, he's had some big games this year, but this one was special. 29 points, 19 rebounds to lead that comeback for the Blackhawks. Then Stells St. Mary. They shot well from beyond the arc, and they took out Corsica Stickney 74-51. Their super sophomore Connor Libas continues to pile up the points. He had 27 with 6 boards, 5 assists, and hit 5 three-pointers to lead the way. He averages 28 a game, by the way. Keep an eye on this kid. He is doing some big things. Next, Parker looked to turn things around after a Friday night loss to Viborg Hurley. They exactly did that. They defeated Dells 59-45. Trey Christensen with a big 21-point night, and Camden Belas added 20. So getting 20 out of your two big scorers helps a lot. They are back on track. Then maybe the most hyped game of the DWU Classic, number 2 St. Thomas More taking on number 3 Sioux Falls Christian, and this is a Class A boys matchup. It was all Chargers right from the get-go. In the first quarter, they got out to a 25 lead. Mitchell Goodberry went absolutely nuts, 29 points, 13 rebounds to lead the way, but they also got double-digit performances from Mitchell Ostra and Zach Whitty. Let's hear from the coach.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best games we've played all year on both ends of the floor. So we challenged them this week, and they really rose to the challenge, and they played a very good ball game. So I was very pleased with them.
Then Hanson squared off with DeSmet. It was close throughout the game, but Kaylin Gary, yes, the freshman Kaylin Gary took over for DeSmet and led them to a huge fourth quarter. They got the 73-50 win. Gary led the Bulldogs with 34 points and 12 rebounds. And their senior Trevin Holland also put up 18. DeSmet gets the huge win.
Yeah, that's a big win for us against a good Hanson team. So we got some young guys and we're still learning all of our situations, but they never backed down. I think when they closed the gap there in the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, we kind of buckled back down, took a little better care of the ball. But defensively, we like to get out and get after them. I thought we did a good job of that. Our guys are put in some situations where it's new to them. They seem to handle pretty good for 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores. And our senior always does a good job of keeping them together and getting us a lot of boards and just trying to keep us focused on staying with the momentum.
The final 2 games of the night would tell us a lot about how tight Class B is this year. Canastota took on White River. White River was number 1 at the time, but the Hawks held on for a signature win, 60-59, just by 1 point. Canastota had 3 players in double figures to get that W. And then the nightcap was between number 4 Bridgewater Emory and Aberdeen Christian, who has been in the top 5 throughout the year. The Huskies would have to get a comeback to get the win in the end. Aberdeen Christian led almost throughout the entire game, but BE gets the 45-37 win in a low-scoring affair. All right, that brings us to the playoff forecast. Where would your team be if the playoffs started right now? Well, most teams have just a handful of games left. There's actually a couple teams that are actually done with their regular season. So for a complete look at who would play who and your team's percentage chance to win and maybe even win it all or get to state, we've got it all on our website, midcosn.com. Just click on blog and you'll see my full playoff picture. It's kind of interesting to take a quick look at. Some of the more interesting things I found out when I was breaking down this playoff picture. 1, Class AA boys and girls should be absolutely crazy. No team is really pulled apart from the rest. A lot of great teams, 7 teams on the girls' side with a really strong chance to make that championship push. It's going to be wide open. Number 2, T area, the boys have the strongest chance of any team in the state to bring home a title. Ethan girls, though, in Class B are close behind. Number 3, if teams went chalk and won games as they were favored up until the SODAC 16, which, by the way, never actually happens, but if it did, there would be some great matchups in the round of 16. We'd have Yankton boys not playing Aberdeen Central. They have for the last couple of years, so they'd have somebody new on their schedule. Another interesting matchup, Sioux Valley would take on TS Bazina. That game went to overtime in the regular season in Class Boys A. St. Thomas More girls, they've got all those championships in a row. They would be tested in the SODAC 16 by Sioux Falls Christian, a team that's maybe a little bit underrated. So St. Thomas More would have a tough time defending their title. And how about TDA and Faith in Girls B? These two teams played each other last year in the quarterfinals at state, and they would match up for a chance to get to state if things, like I said, went chalk from here throughout that round of 16. So many great matchups. Make sure to check out that blog to see all the SODAC 16 possibilities, as well as the computer's prediction on what your team's chance is to win it all. All right, let's get to this week's Game Ball. We'll start with some outstanding performers on the girls' side. Let's talk about Emma Ronsick of O'Gorman. Had an outstanding junior season. She had a huge game against Brookings, 25 points, 6 for 8 from three-pointers to help the Lady Knights beat the Bobcats last week. Elizabeth Salmon of Hitchcock-Tulare, a 36-point, 10-rebound game against Potter County. Peyton Reimerson of Sioux Falls, Washington, back-to-back great games on the weekend, taking out Rapid City Central and Stevens with 27 points and 17 points against those Rapid City counterparts. Grace Friday of Scotland, she connected on 10 three-pointers last Friday. That was just too shy of a state record for most in a game. There's only a handful of people who have made 10 threes in a game. Congratulations to Grace. Lori Rogers of Warner, she's gotten a game ball earlier this year. She went for a 30-plus point game against Falkton, but the game ball this week goes to Carly Gustafson of Ethan. Yes, undefeated Ethan. She had a daunting schedule in front of her with Corsica, Stickney, and Freeman. And she came up with 2 huge performances to get W's for her top-rated Rustlers. She ended up scoring 44% of her team's points in those 2 games against really good competition. The Rustlers are still unbeaten, just 1 game left before the playoffs begin for them. And they really have played an excellent season to this point, mostly because of Carly Gustafson. All right, let's turn to the boys. A lot of great players on the boys' side who had excellent weeks. Let's start with Kaylin Gary, who we mentioned earlier in the highlights, as well as Mitchell Goodberry, who put up 27 points for Sioux Falls Christian. Both those 2 players had big-time performances at the DWU Classic. You got to mention them. But how about Reggie Slava of Hanson? He made 11 threes. We talked about Grace Friday, who made 10. He made 11 against Avon on Tuesday. And how about Zach Clemens of Northwestern? He had a season-high 34-point performance against Redfield Dolan. Northwestern, watch out for them. They are coming up the ranks quickly. And how about Jarrett Blumenrader? Back-to-back 20 and 10 games for Highmore Herald. He is very close to 1,000 rebounds for his career. Noah Friedel just got last week's game ball for T. He put up 40 points in a win over Lennox, and the return of Kobe Bush, he's really starting to feel it for Huron. He single-handedly took Huron past Brandon Valley with a 34-point, 7-rebound night to upset Brandon Valley Lynx. Huge game. Watch out for Huron if Kobe Bush is playing like that. Carter Shields of Washington, Aiden Bizzardi of Todd County, both with huge games, 32 and 37 respectively. And so many great performances, it would take quite a week to top this list, but there's one more we haven't mentioned, and we're going to give him the game ball. Karst Hunter. He poured in 38 points and 16 rebounds against Todd County earlier in the week, and then came back the very next game and registered a 50-point game with 18 boards against Wessington Springs. That was a 25-year-old school record set just by Troy Boomsma with 47 points 25 years ago that Karst Hunter took it out with that half-dollar performance. Unbelievable night. And what a career, by the way, for Karst. He is just 7 rebounds away from breaking Brian Schwartz's school record in that department. Brian Schwartz, yes, that Brian Schwartz who went on to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He set that record many years ago, and Karst is right there. What an athletic career for the future SDSU quarterback. Speaking of some milestones, we've got another one to talk about. There have been a ton of rebounds going on, and they've come from Corey Brown. He brought down his 1,000th and 1,001st career rebounds last Tuesday against Little Wound. Corey now has over 1,000 points and 1,000 boards and has his team in the top 5, ready to add to those numbers in the playoffs. And just like he did on Tuesday, he's had a number of games where he's had more rebounds than he has had points. This guy loves to grind. He is fun to watch. And as usual, we're going to end out this program with a look at some of the dunks that we've had sent in from viewers like you, so make sure to keep them coming. For the Thunder Report today, we've got some new dunkers and we've got some old trusted dunkers like Elijah Williams of Rapid City Central, who goes and gets the dunk at the Lincoln Gym. Surprise on the backside, Elijah Williams, a high flyer. Then Shane Anderson. Beautiful pass off the back iron to Chase Mason, the sophomore out of Viborg Hurley. Look at that. Yeah, I'm going to give him an assist on that one. Beautiful. Caden Verley hits the steal and the athletic dunk, trying to be defended. No chance to defend Caden Verley. The crowd loves it. Caden Verley with the flush. And then Corey Brown, look at that, from Pine Ridge. Again, slipping on the baseline and going up before Little Wound can do anything about it with the flush.